as soon as I stop tripping over bar stools out here. All right, so we're going to get our speakers started for the day. And I am so excited for this next speaker. She's one of my favorite women on this planet. She has become a Reiki master, and she's going to tell you all about that in a second. But she also makes these beautiful pyramids you see up here on this table. They have healing elements, and I have a few in my room. My son is in love with them. He likes the little baby ones. And she is just a beautiful person. And she has such an incredible journey to tell you about. And I don't even need to say anything else. I'm just going to welcome her to the stage, Carrie Betts.
They say you can tell a lot about a person by the shoes they wear. Would you believe that I've been holding on to these shoes for the past 25 years as a reminder of how far I've come? At the age of 22, I found myself spiraling down a path of self-destruction. I had just left a long-term relationship that was sexually and verbally abusive. Desperate to not be alone, I fell into the arms of the first man who paid attention to me. He was tall, charming, and let's not forget, he was a badass biker. I was working in a mill sewing 900 shirts a day just to make $10 an hour, when I ran into a friend who told me that I could make $2,000 a week stripping with her. Already feeling completely worthless and honestly sick of slaving away for next to nothing, I decided, why not? So off I went. Arriving at the club, I walk in. It's dark, dingy, and all I can smell is cheap perfume and testosterone. I remember being completely terrified and thinking to myself, what the hell did I just sign up for? Soon enough, it was my turn to make my way to the stage. Walking there, I got weak in the knees. I felt sick to my stomach, and my heart was pounding out of my chest. Up on stage, I felt dirty and awkward as I took my clothes off for the first time. I kept thinking, how am I going to make it through the next few days? I already knew that the combination of tequila and cocaine made me feel invincible. So as soon as I got off stage, I started to ask around. And it didn't take long before I found someone with the drug of my choice. At the end of those 3 days, I was so eager to get home to my man. Surely he's going to understand that I can't go back, that it was too degrading. But much to my surprise, he reassured me that I wasn't a whore and I should give it another try. Of course, his response would make me question his love for me, but my longing to be with him would have me do just about anything. For the next 9 months, I found myself tolerating the behavior of the men at the club. In fact, I had become rather numb to it. At this point, I was drinking a half gallon of tequila a day, along with enough cocaine to kill a small horse. I finally decided that I couldn't keep living that way. So I hung up my stilettos in hopes to get my act together. Although I quit stripping, I still found myself attending all the biker parties, and I was full of hate and discontent. I mean, you couldn't even look at me without me jumping down your throat. This would make it all too easy for me to stay wrapped up in the drug scene for the next 4 years. In fact, the drugs had become such a priority in our lives that we found ourselves spending all our money on them, literally leaving us with no money for food at times. But then again, who wants to eat when they're high anyways? It wasn't until after my 26th birthday celebration that I would feel this great emptiness inside me. And I just thought that living for the good times was getting rather old. And I wanted more out of life. Maybe a nice little home with a family. A couple months passed and I discovered that I was pregnant. It was like somebody punched me in the gut. I mean, I didn't even love myself enough to take care of me. How would I take care of a child? But with great consideration, I decided to keep the baby. I figured she would bring me purpose and great joy. But shortly after having my daughter, although she brought me great joy, I would fall off the wagon. A part of me longed for the old life, and the other part was desperately trying to hold on to my husband. By the time my daughter was 3 years old, we were faced with an eviction notice. I was completely dumbfounded on how we let ourselves end up in this situation once again. Only this time, we had a child. What were we going to do? I knew that if I stayed in my marriage, things were never going to get better. Not only were we in a financial mess due to our drug abuse, but I was being lied to and verbally abused on a daily basis. Completely terrified and downright brokenhearted, I asked my husband for a divorce, packed my things along with my daughter, and we moved in with my mother until I could get on my feet. I found myself a job at a convenience store and a little spiritual shop where I would spend all my days off finding comfort in learning about all things spiritual. I put myself through massage school and became an energy healer. Life really seemed to be moving in the right direction. My daughter and I had our own place. I had a career I loved, and I was sober. Then, out of nowhere, I fell sick with terrible stomach issues, joint and muscle pain, along with chronic fatigue. Most days, it was like my body was completely shutting down. This would lead to many hospitalizations and a lot of doctor's visits. None of them were able to pinpoint what was going on, but they had no problem treating me for autoimmune disorders, even though they couldn't prove it. By the time I was 37 years old, I was on 25 different medications. I finally had a doctor ask me, "Have you been sexually abused?" I was so furious at this question. I mean, what does sexual abuse have to do with my illness anyway? Although that question made me angry, it stayed at the forefront of my mind and actually led to my healing journey. Now I know you're wondering, how can a question like that start a healing journey? Well, it was a great reminder of all I learned as a massage therapist and an energy healer that I forgot about while I was fighting for my life. I knew that the body holds trauma and that our stuck emotions will cause dis-ease, and that we have the ability to heal ourselves. So I took myself off all medications that I was on. I found a lot of determination to get better. I also knew that I needed to find a connection. So I started to dig in the dirt and start connecting with nature again, like I did when I was a child. I spent many hours outside planting flowers and letting their energy heal me. I also asked myself a lot of questions, and I cried a lot and screamed a lot. I started to heal emotionally, mentally, and physically. But I still was full of an insidious sadness that came out as anger. It wasn't until I met Allison Roberts, where she would point out that I was smothered in shame and guilt. In fact, I remember saying to her, "What the hell is shame and guilt? I don't have any of that." The deeper I looked while working with her, I realized that I had a whole lot of shame and guilt. I hated myself for the choices I had made. And I also had a lot of voices in my head from other people. I've come to realize that there's no one person or one thing that can make us feel the love that we crave so badly. We need that love within us. I've had to work hard to learn to forgive myself, to honor the choices that I've made, and to realize that my mistakes do not define who I am. I've also come to realize that we must go through a lot of darkness to find our light. I hope that my story encourages you all to find the courage that it takes to spend months in the darkness so that you can bloom into the strong, confident sunflower that you are. I would love to connect with you all more. I'll be floating around today. Please come check out my healing properties, my healing products. The flowers would love to help you all heal as well. And for those of you watching virtually, you can find me at carriebetts.com. Thank you.